Hey everybody, it's 9 o'clock and 9 o'clock is with me, Father Warner. We are in the Monday of the 10th week in Ordinary Time, and I've entitled today's teaching A Blessed Life. Remember that from today we reflect upon the Gospel of Matthew. So we are taking chapter 5 verses 1 to 12. I'll read the text and then come back and explain it to you. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of slander and against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. The Gospel of the Lord. Now, Matthew's Gospel, which is taken up in the liturgy of the daily Eucharist from today onwards, is often referred to as the teaching Gospel. And why do we call it so? Because it contains 5 great discourses into which Matthew has gathered much of his teaching material. Now, I just want to say that while I have written previously reflections on the Gospel of Matthew, this time round I'm not taking an exegetical approach, that is to say, to explain the scriptural background of the text. This time round I'm going to take a pastoral approach. So I'm going to reflect with you not necessarily the text in its immediate context, but the text within a pastoral context. Now, coming to the Gospel of Matthew, we need to remember, and I will do some parts of also exegesis. Matthew was writing to what we would call a Judeo-Christian audience. What's a Judeo-Christian audience? These were Christians who at one time were Jews, but now followers of Jesus Christ. So he was writing to this Judeo-Christian audience sometime between the year 75 and 90 AD. Remember that the first gospel to be written was Mark, and then Matthew, Luke, and finally John. So he wrote between the years 75 and 90 AD. Now, when you look at this gospel, you begin to realize that it has very strong overtones of what we would best call a family feud or a family fight. So let me explain what is this family feud. In around the year 80 AD, the rabbis, the Jewish rabbis of Jamnia, had decided to place the Christians outside the community of Judaism. They pronounced a curse on the Christians. It was called the Birkat Haminim. So the Birkat Haminim was a curse pronounced on heretics, that is, all those who don't believe in the Jewish faith or those who blasphemed against the Jewish faith. So pronounced on heretics, and in this they also included the Christians. Now, this set the Christian community firmly outside the boundaries of Judaism. From now on, they were rejected by the Jewish authorities. Of course, Matthew's community will contest this. They are not going to accept that they are not part of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Now, if Michelangelo, the great Renaissance painter, had the Last Judgment as his piece, the Resistance, then this, I think, was Matthew's masterpiece, the Sermon on the Mount. St. Matthew brilliantly weaves the teachings of Jesus in this first of the 5 opening discourses, and he sets down very clearly in this discourse, in the Sermon on the Mount, the mind of Jesus. Now, at its heart is the theme of justice, at its heart is the theme of the kingdom of God. Matthew grips the reader with unadulterated teaching on the kingdom, and he leaves the reader really wondering, how can values such as meekness and poverty and mourning and hunger bring one happiness? I mean, such a thing flies in the face of our rational thinking. Now, Jesus begins the discourse with the wonderful words of the Beatitudes. So, the Sermon on the Mount, which is chapter 5, 6, and 7, begins with the Sermon on the Mount, begins with the Beatitudes. And we know that there are 8 of them, 8 Beatitudes, each of them beginning with the words, happy are those, or as some texts will have it, blessed are those. Now, the word happy or blessed is really a translation of the Greek adjective makarios, which includes not only the idea of, as we would think, happiness, but also in a way of good fortune, of being, if I may say, it's very hard to translate, but really that you are specially blessed. Yeah. So we can translate it as blessed indeed are those, or fortunate indeed are those. It is important to realize that being a follower of Christ is intended to be a source of deep happiness and a realization that one is truly fortunate to have discovered this vision of life. Now, I want to say this because sometimes we misunderstand the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes are not some pious hopes. As somebody said, a pie in the sky when you die. Yeah, that is to say, blessed are you when you are this, and then when you come to heaven, you're going to get a pie in the sky when you die. They're not some. That's not the intention. But really, Makarios was a congratulations. Yeah, it was a recognition of an existing state of happiness that the disciple chose to freely live. Yeah, I mourn, I'm persecuted, but I still live happily. I'm blessed. So while the virtues they may present or purport may seem to be a little out of style and out of step in the modern world, they are indeed the way a disciple is to walk as a sign to the world. So when you look at it, the Beatitudes are not a list of thou shalt nots. It's not like the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not. That's not the purpose of the Beatitudes. The list we find here, if you look at it, is in the indicative mood, not the imperative mood. The 10 Commandments are written in the imperative mood. This is written in the indicative mood. It is a description, it's not a prescription. However, in following the Beatitudes, we find the blessings of being a citizen of the kingdom of God. Now, though the description of the kingdom, when you read it, sounds very bleak, the takeaway for those who have lived it is an experience of authentic happiness. So, what the world sees as tragic or what the world sees as empty, Jesus sees as blessed. Humility, mourning, gentleness, peacefulness, and other virtues that are mentioned. And Jesus lived by these qualities himself, and we can notice them in his words, in his actions, all through his life with us on earth. You know, Jesus could encourage us to live in the spirit of the Beatitudes because he lived them and he knew that a life of integrity and honesty is indeed truly a blessed life. In the next few days, I will continue to expose and explain with pastoral significance the teachings taken from the Gospel of Matthew. But in case you would like to read previous articles or watch previous YouTube videos, in the description box, we will put at least the links of them so that you can simply click the link and then go to a previous video on this topic. Bye for now. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, you got to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and yes, leave your comments. And to those of you who have contributed to the home here, our children's home, run by Lenny and Nadia Suarez, either providing a meal for the children or simply contributing to the home that we plan to purchase, I want to say thank you on behalf of all our children. I want to highlight some friends who we had over the last weekend, Flory and Jason Gonsalves, who came And they stayed with us, and Florrie also decided to teach us her secret prawn curry and then teach the children how to bake a fruit cake. And that also is a great way to reach out to our children by sharing your talents and teaching them a talent too. Bye for now. I'll see you tomorrow.